volaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Siempre. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
What's happening? What's happening? It's the Rise Up Morning Show. You know what we do around here.
What up? What up?
Okay. Somebody just took us off the screen.
That's not what we do, but
it's definitely not what we do. I don't know who did that. Somebody violating. You know what I mean? It's the Rise Up Morning Show. Welcome. We're happy to be here with you and only you. Matter of fact, Isaac's in the building as well. I am Kalonji Changa alongside my comrades in the building. Can y'all introduce yourselves, please, gentlemen?
Peace. Fernando, Cardenas, Pan-African Legal Moja, Ojore.
Hey, Uhuru, comrades. Ikemba, Uhuru Movement, Philly Peace Park, We Charge Colonialism, etc.
Isaac Jasper, Indigenous Nightmare Network, plethora of other things, but Fed Up for Palestine, and soon to be Beauty to the Streets, part of that. So
Okay. It's good to be here. It's Friday, and we're acting like it's solemn, so we're supposed to be like, yo, it's Friday. Friday. TGIF.
Yeah.
Rise up.
All the days are the same to me, to be honest.
It's a good day to rise up, man.
It's definitely a good day to rise up. It's a great day for a revolution.
That's
right.
What
I'm saying? So we definitely.
And speaking of that, we're seeing a lot of resistance right now these days, truthfully, man, around the world. You know, in Haiti, our people are up, you know what I'm saying, against UN and all types of, colonial forces. Our people are up, man. You know, Kenya, Sudan.
Okay.
Even Iran is going up against Israel. So
no doubt. It's resistance. It's a season of resistance, no doubt.
Right.
No doubt. Yeah. Shout out to Esley Danto. If you missed the last episode, Ikemba and I hosted. You know what I mean? Yesterday. It was fire.
Powerful.
That was dope. Yeah, it was dope. I got to see it.
No doubt. Attorney Esley Danto, and she holds no punches. You know what I mean? I thought we might get blackballed or whiteballed after that episode, but we still here. So y'all thought y'all were gonna see.
Was unapologetic.
And that's how she's supposed to be. No doubt. That's kind of guest we have to have.
That's right.
No doubt.
I like that clip with Sister Soldier where she said, "I absolutely said that. I am not refraining from that at all."
And I was thinking, we don't see that on TV these days anymore, man. I think back in the 90s, we don't hear any radical voices like that on television, man.
Right. Well, you know, the only place you're gonna hear it like that is at a place called Rise Up Morning Show, because that's what we do around here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Rise Up Morning Show. Shout out to Black Power Media. Shout out to We Charge Colonialism. Shout out to Vital Hoops, Habana Negra. Shout out to the Indigenous Nightmare Network and all the comrades across the board who support and move towards revolution, all of our freedom fighters, you know. And if it's your first time tapping in, we want you to know that you're welcome to come see us every Tuesday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. EST. And, you know, we have about 3-4 time zones on this particular platform. And some of them be hating because they think the morning is supposed to be whatever the time they wake up. You know what I'm saying? Nobody care about the morning show in France, so it's coming up from the Rise Up. Nobody care about the morning show over in Vegas.
It's the afternoon show over here.
Hey, man, listen, man, you know, take it personal if you want to. I'm just telling you what we do around here.
The information is still valid.
The information is always valid. It's always relevant. And we are happy to be of service to our people. Thank you all for helping to make our platform what it is. You know, we know that, you know, sometimes, you know, we roll and we swim in rough waters, you know what I'm saying? But as they say in Trinidad, the rougher the water, the stronger the swimmer. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing around here. We swimming through these waters. We might run into a shark every now and then, but you know what I'm saying? We got our harpoons on deck just in case, you know what I mean? Black Aquaman style. What we got going on today, gentlemen? I think we have a guest coming on today. Y'all hip to that?
We do have a guest.
Okay.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Heard through the grapevine?
Do we want to let the people know, or do we just want to surprise them? What's how we going about this?
Isaac,
tread lightly.
Should we say something? Should we say something? We can let them know about some of the guests for next week because we're going to tune in next week. You know what I mean? But we just going to say this for next week. We'll have a presidential candidate who is no stranger to our community. You know, will be joining us next week. So stay tuned for that. We have a whole lot of freedom fighters that will be coming on board. We want to make sure that this morning show is like no other. And we know that you all know that you will get that straight critical political action and get charged up checking out what we're doing. So, brothers, you mentioned Haiti.
Could I get a real quick? Can I get a hint on this presidential candidate? Is it going to be an Indian? Is the person Indian?
See, this is why we're gonna take. So I'm gonna take Ikemba nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Ikemba, man.
Ikemba keep trying to slide in. You know, I wasn't gonna say nothing, right? Because I ain't no snitch. But Ikemba went to school with a certain vice president, and the rumor is they used to date. Now, I'm not, you know.
Damn.
You know, and the rumor is after she left Ikemba, she got with a white dude. So I ain't gonna say who we
clear things
about.
Up, man. Nah. Clear things up, Ikemba.
Nah, the sisters that never date white, man. Nah,
okay. Not after Ikemba. Ikemba said, "Not after me." You know what I'm saying?
Okay. It ain't going down like that.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for folks who are checking us out. If that's your thing or whatever, we ain't trying. You know, we just having some fun. Right. Don't get excited. Don't run up on me when you see me in the store. You know what I'm saying? Because that ain't wise. I just look like this. But anyway, it's a lot coming up. Black August will be coming through heavy next week. We are grateful to be able to commemorate the 45th year anniversary, or 45th year commemoration of Black August. That's coming up. 1979 is when Black August started, 1 year after Qatari Golden was medically murdered after an accident on the yard where he received some damages and they tried to deny proper medical care. We'll be talking about all of that. But, you know, there's a lot around the whole medical apartheid thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's one of the ways that they murder and I would say assassinate many of our freedom fighters. They use this we don't care healthcare system. You know what I mean? And you know, we know that, you know, Obamacare wasn't gonna never save nobody. And we know that you know, the healthcare system, particularly here in the US, I don't know how it is in France. How's the healthcare system out there, brother?
It's a little bit better, man. I did live in the US and I know kind of it's a little bit better over here, but it's still not free healthcare. But I mean it's partially free and it's a little bit, you know, it's a little more advanced than in the US, but it still needs work.
Better in Cuba though.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Cuba is better, but the problem in Cuba is the resources. Like everything is free, but we don't always have the resources. So, you know, you might need things that are not available, and you might still, you know, be fucked because you don't have the doctors don't have what they need. You know.
Well, this is what I'm gonna do, man. Because you know, on Rise Up Morning Show, we don't just like to talk about issues. We don't like to be stressed out and talk about, you know, not providing alternatives and all that. So we're gonna go to a quick Black Power break, and we're gonna come back. I'm gonna see if I can call one of my good doctor comrades to come on board and talk about some things, because I think we need to not only discuss you know, what's going on, because we talked about political prisoners, of course, and how they've been murdering and assassinating our brothers and sisters. So call up one of our good brothers to see if he'll be down to come talk to us after this quick break. Black Power break. Rise Up Morning Show. Let's go.
Rise up.
Today is March 7th, 1996. We are here in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania.
The death penalty is a political creation. It is a creation of the state and a creation by politicians to obtain political power and higher office. That politicians use the death penalty as a stepping stone for higher political office. And they project, using people's cases, what people are about on death row. And that's deceitful. It's untrue. It's unreal. In this sense that you will hear politicians talk about people on death row are the worst of the worst, and they're this and they're that, and they're monsters and so forth. But what you will not hear is that there are many people serving lesser sentences, life sentences, or a term of years, who have been convicted of similar, if not the same kinds of things. Or there are other people who are, by virtue of their wealth, were not convicted at all. So what we're really talking about is a system that calls itself a justice system that uses the injustice of wealth, power, rank, status, race, privilege to determine who comes on death row. You see, why is it that 9% of this state's population is close to 70% or 75% of death row's population? And I speak here of African Americans. And that's because, you know, the city of Philadelphia, like the city of Houston, like the city of Miami and Dade County, are cities where politicians have built their careers on sending people on death row. They're not making people any safer, you see. They're not showing people by their example justice. What they're showing is the partiality of injustice. Because for most of the people on death row, the overwhelming majority of people on death row were poor, could not afford the resources to develop a defense, could not begin to combat the forces of the state, the government. And as we saw very recently, that is, all of us across America, if not around the world, in the O.J. Simpson case in California, well, the kind of defense you get is the kind of defense you can afford. Most of the people who are here on death row, in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, in Florida, in Texas, in Illinois, in California, are on death row because they could not afford what O.J. Simpson could afford, which is the best defense.
Could you once again say a word what you feel about violence? Is violence needed, or do you believe in a different way?
I believe that violence violates the self. That what the system believes in, what the system practices, and what the system preaches is violence. And what the one thing that we don't want to do is do the same thing that the system is doing every day. If that were the case, why replace the system? You see, we want a new system where people are free and free of the violence of the system. We would hope for a day when there are no bombs, whether of any kind, you know, thermonuclear or conventional so-called, no guns, no weapons, no prisons, no poverty, because all of these things are tools and weapons of violence. And we reject that.
Now, Mumia, what do you feel?
No doubt, no doubt. That was our comrade, OG, elder, political prisoner, Mumia Abu Jamal. Folks who have been under a rock, Mumia was accused of murdering a cop in Philadelphia. All evidence points to the opposite. You know, he definitely was falsely accused. He was framed. And of course, many of you have heard him on our platform in the past. And I mentioned that, you know, had the opportunity to visit him a few months ago. Mumia has been locked up for 42 years, almost 43 years. He went in at age 28, just turned 70 years old back in April. So from 28 to 70, he's been incarcerated. I need y'all to let that sink in real quick, because when we talk about these political prisoners, sometimes when we talk about time, I just need to make that correlation. So in other words, Isaac, Mumia went in when you was like 1 year old. You were one, and he's been locked up your whole life plus. You know what I mean? He's been locked up for 42 years. In fact, he's been locked up before Fernando and Isaac were even born. This is how long this man's been locked up, just to put it in perspective. Ikemba was about 3 years old, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I mean? And I was, you know, slightly older. You know what I mean? So the fact is, you know, this is a man who's been putting in work. He spent 30 years on death row. You know, they held him extra time because they didn't want to let him off of death row, because they couldn't believe that, you know, that the state wasn't going to execute him. So what they do in turn, sometimes when they can't just outright execute you, they make efforts to use murder by incarceration. I reached out to a comrade of ours who is a doctor, Dr. Ricardo Alvarez. He's a 30-year veteran of the community health center movement. He served mainly the poor, monolingual Latinx community of San Francisco as a medical director of the HIV program for 13 years, and at a larger clinic for 11 years. He was creatively engaged in art and theater. He used art and theater to build a nationally recognized model for HIV care. He is trained in family practice at UCSF and completed a California Healthcare Foundation Fellowship for Emerging Leaders. In the last 3 years, he's been devoted to abolition work when he became a medical consultant to our brother Mumia Abu Jamal. I want to welcome to our platform, to the Rise Up Morning Show, our comrade, Dr. Ricardo Alvarez. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for the invite. I always love these shows that allow us to speak from our heart about how we understand our relationship to those of our political prisoners, our prisoners of wars, but also to really all the elders and all the brothers and sisters from a perspective of harm being done to them, the aggression of the state. So I appreciate that this is a place where I can say that, speak to my heart about that. You open up this space to allow us to do it from a place of analysis. And Mumia, the first time I saw him after 30 years of effort, the first messages he gave was grounding in gratitude. From his perspective, after having been incarcerated, at that time it was just shy of 40 years. And the first message he gave was gratitude. So I really try to pay attention to his messages. He's a very elevated being in the spirit whose messages are multi-level, but this was grounding in gratitude. Thank you, Kalonji. I appreciate you holding this space for us all.
Hey, comrade, we appreciate you being on the right side of the barricades. I think that one of the things that Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. would point out, he said we have to take bourgeois skills and make them work in the interest of the people. You know what I mean? So, you know, in the vein of someone like a Che Guevara, who was a medical doctor, in the vein of someone like Fidel Castro, who was an attorney, you know, we appreciate that you recognize that you already doing the people's work with the great work that you were doing, you know, through HIV and family practice, etc. But I want to start off by asking you, what really prompted you to get into becoming a movement doctor? Because we know that, for one, you are on, you are in Mumia, but also you are, as my well, on Leonard Peltier's legal team. So I would like to ask you, you know, what prompted you to make that particular turn? Because I know it's not an easy move.
It wasn't that difficult for me in a sense, because I can tell you the moment when it happened from a place of my relationship to Mumia. There was a long-standing relationship through primarily the MOVE organization, primarily Mama Pam. And in that respect, you know, I mean, you know, she knows she's kind of like auntie to the children of ours. And, you know, this was a space where pretty much all of MOVE has come by, because that's how I was brought up and taught. Like, you're home to the extent that you can help people doing work, you know, trying to support others who are doing that work. That was a primary relationship. And then when he got into the medical crisis, I remember getting the call and being asked. Now, that had happened after. To work in community health center is effectively working in the front lines, because there's warfare against our communities, and we suffer the surrogate trauma of that, literally, because we're in pathological relationships with our community where we're navigating, you know, insurance codes and pharmaceutical bans and spending energetic time with computers that are taking us away from a healing relationship. So a part of witness is to recognize that we are energetically embedded within what are fundamentally systems of healing that are organized from an acceptable premise that a prophet can be an acceptable mode of engaging in healing with a community, and that's capitalist medicine. So in that regard, it took me some 5 years for me to disentangle from my responsibilities as medical director. I was only the second medical director in about 50 years. So, you know, it's a place where we hold heart to transition and be in a right relationship with our community. And 2 weeks after I had finally gotten to halftime, I was going into psychedelic medicine, which is where I saw my career taking me. 2 weeks after I had gotten to halftime, I got the call to be Mumia's medical consultant. And I will say I paused for a couple of moments because it's a big responsibility, but I quickly said yes. Understanding that that's a journey of relationship that I'm engaging in, and it's an honor. It's an honor to be in relationship with a wise elder.
Without a doubt, and shout out to Mama Pam Africa. Of course, she's been on the platform numerous times, as has been yourself. I think the last time you were on was with, it might have been Gorilla Intellectual University with Dr. Joy James, Noel Hanrahan, and Pam. So definitely glad to have you back on. And these are our co-hosts here. They're over there looking quiet and shell-shocked. It's okay. We have one of the brothers, Fernando. He's over in France right now. Ikemba is over in Philadelphia area. And our good brother, Isaac, is over on the West Coast as well.
West Coast. Where in the West Coast, Isaac?
Vegas currently, but I am the area that you predominantly got your practice that you practiced in San Francisco is my indigenous homeland. So I'm also Ohlone. So I represent two cultures on this morning show.
Beautiful. Well, you're all welcome. We do try to create a space, not just for, move, but also we call it Abolition West. I'm now living a half a block from Lake Mary. So if your travels bring you this way, we try to have it as a healing space. I know Paulette came by when it was wonderful because there's so much history that Paulette, who works with the Leonard campaign, just like a committed, beautiful journey of hers. So we get a chance to share stories. So that's an open invitation that we can use our spaces as a place to heal and to connect and learn. And definitely.
Appreciate it.
So I wanna tap in because right before you joined in, we were talking about the medical system and how it's been a sort of a crock pot cooking literally alive, many of our political prisoners, our elders, so on and so forth, on their quest to eliminate them through depriving them of proper health care, so on and so forth. I want to, for you, because I know that you recently wrote a letter in regards to how, a lot of our aging prisoners are being, basically assassinated, murdered. I would like you to speak to that because I think that a lot of our viewers and a lot of people in general, they're not really up to speed as far as what's going on with the medical system itself and how it's used as a tool and as a weapon. So if you could speak to that a little bit, that would be great.
All right. But you know that one of the gifts of being a medical consultant to Mumia is that he goes deep. You understand that, right?
I already know.
and just to share with you, I say that to qualify that anything I said, he is probably somewhere in his body of work and knowledge, which is historical and prophetic, has spoken to some aspect of capturing our modern day reality. So with permission, I want to ground this conversation in what Mumia beautifully captured in a commentary called Movement Pains. So colleagues, go on to Prison Radio Project, which is itself a testament to bringing the voices of the primary actors, as Mumia calls them, our prisoners and communities and families. Listen to Movement Pains, and you'll see what he speaks about modern medicine is its historical roots in the efforts of patriarchy to completely destroy the communal healing power of the feminine in the medieval times, and identifies the witch hunt as a paradigm shift, a historical moment in which he, and again, this is his eloquence. So, I mean, this is a humbling job, okay? Let me try to capture it, Kalonji, with permission, man. He breaks down in such beautiful prose the words describing how now men garb themselves in the black robes, coming into the theater of the courts and coming into the theater as judges and lawyers and coming into the theater of healing in arenas as doctors, recreating those origins of professional identity, which was created at the expense to deny so powerfully the feminine healing element, that they needed to burn it at the stake. And he writes about that. Now, I studied medical sociology at Harvard when I was an undergrad, because I figured if I'm going into medicine, I want to know what I'm facing. You know, I was brought up with tradition of liberation theology, with a deep understanding of how institutions in relationship to political powers of hegemony, through be it imperialism or communism, all these isms and systems, you need institutional relationships and need professional identity in terms of fulfilling its function. And in that regard, I want to say, when we talk about the concept of the assassination attempts, we break it down as we did in that program, which, by the way, I am seeking to be submitted to Brown University's Archives of Mass Incarceration. I met with them to do that because I thought that's brilliant.
We lost the brother slightly, but I'm sure he'll come back.
StreamYard, no. StreamYard be doing that too much. When you're talking about real shit and you're pointing it out there, they always want to come in with this bullshit. It happens on my channel too. So
no doubt. Well, he'll be back on. I'm glad definitely that he's laying it out in the way that he can, and I think he's popping back in right now. Here we go. What's going on, Dr. Alvarez? Can you hear us? Okay, we're gonna get him situated with his phone. It might just be where he is.
He's outside.
Get better image.
Yeah. How you doing? You good?
Okay. Now, is my sound better now?
Your sound is better. Yeah. So I don't know if you're frozen or whatever. So you're all good. Well, he was, but anyway. So you're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show, and as you hear Dr. Ricardo Alvarez going in on the medical system itself, it's always good to have professionals, quote unquote, that the state respects, because sometimes we don't acknowledge things until they say this is sanctioned by whoever, right? So let me see if we can get him back on. Dr. Alvarez, can you hear us?
Yes. Now I moved to a different location. I should be, and I hear my voice good, but
yes.
Okay, great. I apologize for the interruptions. It's curious that happens to me a lot.
Yeah. It happens on this platform a lot. Don't even worry about it.
When I'm getting into the root of Mumia's messages or Leonard Peltier's, I always find there's a little interruption, but you got to go with the flow. Fair enough? All right.
No doubt, brother. Yes, sir.
All right. So, I apologize. This is what I appreciate about the way in which you create space, Kalonji, is you allow us to develop these ideas and communicate that. When we talk about assassination, we mean that literally from Mumia's own words. You go back and listen to I believe it was called a White Christmas in prison, and a Christmas Cage is what it's called. And he breaks down after having come through surviving the surgery. Now let's reflect on this, Kalonji. We have documented primary source records in the court that he was mercilessly beaten before he got to the hospital. But hear this, Kalonji, please understand. I'm saying, as a medical doctor, I'm witness to the fact that he was beaten on the threshold of the hospital, okay? And this testimony came from Regina Kuldema, who was at that time a psychiatric resident. And she watches and says, I saw, slightly obscured by a podium, him being dumped into the threshold of a medical institution, and watches the legs of the police come up, come down, and hear him grunting, a bullet through his lungs. The only reason he went to surgery is because they could mobilize Lydia, his sister, to give him a sense that somebody was watching him. His level of distrust and assassination is so justified by his lived experience that if we fail to say that, then I'm doing failure as a medical provider, because that's my ethical responsibilities. I have to, if I see institutional elder abuse or a kind of elder abuse that doesn't respect and center his beauty and autonomy, any patient, okay? Any patient, then that's a harm I'm doing. I'm not saying anything that's not already acknowledged in this state's court documents. The level of oppression and viciousness and targeting that Mumia has suffered as a social determinant of health, there is only one social determinant right now that's operating to keep him in prison, and that is state violence, and specifically the FOP. So when I say assassination, you could start originally from there, but you could go forward as we did in that show that was so brilliant, where we had a chance to talk about hepatitis C. I mean, what manner of craziness is this? Is to say, we now have a medical intervention that we know meets the highest standards of introducing it and alleviating a life-threatening chronic problem. But we are going to create conditions for which we only give it after the point where you're suffering so much that you literally have to be spitting up blood from esophageal varices, violating what are the public health principles of the criteria for interventions of our therapeutic interventions that respectfully balance the risk and harm. So there's another level of assassination. But then we can also look at the fact that this is a man who has been tortured by objective standards of 30 years of solitary confinement. And please, Kalonji, you have to understand, if I had consultation with a colleague where we were breaking down that analysis of torture, and you know how sometimes we hesitate because there isn't a study to say this or that, or we can't really say it because it's not acknowledged. Please, Kalonji, you know, let's agree. This is torture. We don't need to play games with that. You know? If it is me, and I do 30 years, or I do like Brother Leonard, 14 years, and if it's cumulative versus continuous, please, it's torture. 2 weeks, Juan Mendez, international tribunals have come together to identify it. We are social animals. It is seeking to break spirit. It is not in a true spirit of rehabilitation. So now that we have these foundational events, which was the attempted assassination attempt after he had the surgery and putting him into a freezing room, knowing that he's at risk of pneumonia, the attempts that occurred with on the scene and the beatings, the attempts that occur with hepatitis C. Now that we have that and the continuing torture that's occurring, right? So this is why with Mama Pam, she's like, you know, from my perspective, this is a continued assassination attempt until he's free. If we acknowledge that the only treatment is freedom, that anything short of freedom is attempting to break his spirit. He is ours. He belongs to the universe of humanity. He is our brother. He is our colleague. He is a public intellectual. He doesn't belong to the state for them to treat him like that. From a perspective of a medical perspective, that's my assessment. And that's why Kalonji, when you asked, how did I get involved? Mama Pam wasn't the one who called me, but once I was on, she wanted my evaluation, and I broke it down by systems, heart, what the vulnerability was. I broke it down by his hepatitis C, understanding of iatrogenesis, the harms they did to him by putting him in an induced coma, by inappropriate vigilance of the interventions of steroids. I broke all of that down. And at the end, I said, the only treatment is freedom. And Mama Pam, this is the thing. She had 3 words for me that, you know how those 2-3 words can change your life? Mumia had 2, and she had 3. She says to me, then say it. Understand
it. And listen, for folks who don't know Mama Pam,
oof.
When she say, then say it, that's what the fuck she mean.
Exactly. But in a beautiful way.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, so to that, and it's just like I appreciate how you just broke this down you took something that seems so complex and you simplified it for the viewer, for the listener. You know what I mean? And it's just like on what you stated in the last 7 to 10 minutes, on that alone, any judge that would have any form of humanity inside of him would say, you know what, this automatically qualifies for some type of compassionate release on this basis alone. Not even going to the evidence, notwithstanding the fact that that the quote unquote evidence was doctored, notwithstanding the fact that the quote unquote witness was paid and all of this type stuff, and that the proof that the FOP has consistently made efforts to stop this man's release. But just based off of what you said from that particular angle, I want to ask, or I want you to kind of describe Mumia for folks who haven't had the opportunity to meet Mumia, because I think the thing is, and I think you can agree with me, Ricardo, is that seeing Mumia, the author, or hearing him as the journalist, and having the opportunity to sit with him as a human, as a man, as a freedom fighter, it's a whole nother, it's a whole other experience. So if you don't mind sharing who Mumia Abu Jamal is to you.
Wow. Okay. I'm breathing here for a second, okay?
Keep breathing. We need that.
Mumia is love. Mumia is energy. Mumia is light. And Mumia is human. It hurts. His body itches. There are logistics. That is the logistics of a system that exists, for which when we come together as a team to try to be there for Mumia, I have been blessed to have deep counsel so that we're all together appreciating that we are in relationship to ongoing violence. He is a form of energetic being that is in relationship to resistance from a deep seed of resilient love. That's who Mumia is. And as a result of that, he is prepared to do battle, to fight, to make choices about how he uses his time on earth to help guide us. Because at this point, Mama Pam had 3 words. She said, then say it. Mumia has 2 words. Okay? There was a point in these visits that evolved where he was giving messages about what it means metaphysically to transform your cell, your death penalty cell, to transform it into a space where it becomes in service of you engaging in connection with your ancestral energy and becoming voice as if it is through you, so that whatever obstacle comes before you, you transcend it. So when you say, who is Mumia? He is capable of transforming that and teaching me in so few words. One of the ways he energetically changes it to say, when the food was coming his way on when he was on death row, he used to be so disciplined about his work and what he was writing and studying and how he wanted to say and putting it all together, that he transformed that cell into a chamber that was a portal of his brilliance. And when the food would come, he would say with his little wry smile, he'd say, after they left, I would say under my breath, thank you, Charles. As if they were being delivered. But also doing it from a perspective, he is so capable of whatever is before him and grounding in gratitude. Understanding that whatever is there is a source, a vehicle for him to fulfill what is this powerful journey as a griot journalist. And he always reminds me, he is a griot journalist, not just a journalist, but in the tradition that is not only linking to the ancestral trials of our ancestors. So you understand we understand ourselves in relationship to our ancestors, but also that capacity of a griot journalist to speak truth to power. It has both those entendimientos that we say in Spanish, meanings that we say. It has both of those, and he speaks from he walks in that space. And so when we work with Mumia, we want to make sure that we're all working together energetically to help support him in what is his medicine, his capacity. Right now it is Fanon, okay? But let me also say what is his medicine. And you know Mumia is not directive, Kalonji. We talked about that before, right?
Right on,
But,
right on.
But he is in such profound respect and love for Brother Leonard and the amazing team of which you are a part. It is beautiful how strongly that team, that ad hoc committee, is beautiful to see how they're coming together. Whatever trials, whatever struggles, to speak about their love for him, and also guiding and teaching how we break it down, as Jalil says, in the language of the oppressor. So we want to break it down, right? So that letter, we wanted to make sure it had all the data from a place of position papers, evidence-based medicine, policy papers, legal briefs are reviewed, all of that stuff. And we'll even say, man, we want to speak to you on this rational level. That is your language. But we're not asking you as the American Geriatric Society to offer your medicines. Brother Leonard has his own medicines. Lenny Foster, he's got his spiritual guides. He's grounded. We're not asking for that. We're asking for witness as trauma-informed colleagues, honoring our role as witness to what is genocide. So this for Mumia is part of his medicine, being able to come back and feed him the ways in which his powerful dreams of manifestation are now being realized in the fertile soil of abolition that we're in.
No doubt.
Sorry, I had to go off on a little bit of a tangent.
That was needed. It was much needed. It was much needed.
I'm gonna throw the co-host Isaac at you. So
go, please. I'm so grateful.
If you think you go off, wait till you get a load of him.
Oh, no, I love it.
First off, Ricardo, I want to say, and you're a doctor, so I'm going to call you Dr. Alvarez to be respectful.
As you wish.
Thank you for coming on and expressing what needs to be talked about in the wake of Mumia still being held under incarceration for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that his voice is ultimately one of the most powerful voices that we have today when we talk about our elders. I'd like to get into the psycho analysis of being under the prison system, how that has affected Mumia, how living for 40 years being subjugated to being told that you did a murder that you didn't do. How does that, in the wake of that, how has he been able to prepare to debunk those feelings that he might have, whether it be frustration for being under a fucking murder system, how has Mumia in the last 40 years been able to handle all of that? And in the wake of that, how do you see that from the outside, an individual that has been incarcerated for 40 years, but yet has still been able to uplift the masses, has been able to teach the masses, have been able to re-educate and reform some analysis that is needed? How does Mumia handle all of this while being incarcerated from a psychoanalysis?
Okay. First, let me say, I am incapable of doing a psychoanalysis of Mumia. We got to joke about this. No, seriously, okay? But let me share something with you in terms of messages. There's a point when one does medical consultation, and this is true. I need you to know in my clinic as well. I mean, how do you just not sit in awe of how many, mostly women, holding space, taking care of a younger generation with love, knowing how brutal this system is, and then taking care of elders and, holding it so that they can still understand that a child's spirit needs curiosity and love and balance, but feeling fear. So I'm regularly in awe, right? Okay. So in that regard, Mumia, we talk about it sometimes jokingly, because he gave me permission to call him Dr. Mood the other time. Mumia is his own healer. We start with that premise. Okay? So in this regard, when you do consultation with someone of that elevated being, it's not for me to say from psychological, what do I have to offer from an analysis, blah, blah, blah. You stay out the way and just ponder and reflect. His teaching is by example. I just gave you an example of how metaphysically he transformed the physical environment of a death cell so that it became a portal for him to capture his powerful, creative, griot journalistic voice and bring it forward, right? So that's just one small example. But what I would say is that in doing a consultation like this, we make it clear, and I speak to him, I'm here at the periphery of your healing. I'm here at the boundary of the intersection of Western medicine so we can understand in an evaluation of its risks and benefits how that biomedical reductionist model that produces agents who have cellular targets, how we can understand its introduction in your body, and you can evaluate that as a risk and benefit to your body. Where it fits in terms of the logic, how compelling it is, that's mostly where we're navigating. His understanding about his self-healing was told to me in this last visit where I saw him on Monday. Wait a minute, what is today?
Friday.
I saw him Monday a week ago. Okay. I saw him Monday a week ago. And what he said is around internal healing. He said, just reflect on the power of the placebo, right? Because part of this is like, how do we discuss healing within the movement? Because he begins with the premise that so much of healing that we have to do is from wounding that is ancestral, that is soul wounds. And he identifies the primary soul wound of a nation as genocide of our indigenous people, and the secondary soul wound as slavery. One seeking to extract the land, incapable of taking the spirit, who lives in this serve as the labor of extraction. They were incapable of doing that with our indigenous brothers and sisters. And the secondary soul wound of slavery was, he speaks about the African diaspora. But in saying that, he reminds me, and I think us, what is obvious to say, but in that, there is a common relationship to oppression. And in that regard, when you see the mixture of African blood with indigenous blood, there was a complicated relationship through oppression, where through the Trail of Tears and Cherokee, you see relationships that emulate under the survival modes, some kind. What's more important is to respect and understand that in the lands where you had community being created, where there was a mixture to say, I see you as a brother, you as a slave, I see you in your humanity. They came together and respected each other and came together in community of resistance. And he's telling me this story. I'm like, fuck, I'm like, wow. Yeah, I'm understanding how, and he's saying you can literally break it down by looking at the percentage. There's estimated large percentage of the mixture of blood. And so I've never seen him, and I've talked to him around guiding me in the movement, and I've never seen him so clear. And this is why, Kalonji, I think your role is so important. I've never seen him so clear in saying, this is all out. This is the time to unify. And imagine in his mind understanding the nuances of this empire in such a deep way, understanding that now what emerges is a narrative of genocide from which, let me tell you, I mean, no one questions the genocide of the indigenous people here. No one questions it. Even
can you say that for the people in the back, please? Because
no one questions as we examine any debate, theoretical or otherwise, about genocide of brown people in a foreign land, whatever that confusion may be. When we ground together, when there's one voice that links to Brother Peltier, oh man, it is clear. Let me also say this. One of the things, and Kalonji, I don't know, we've gotten deep into this, but you can appreciate that we have to understand the mindset of, we have to understand the personality of, we have to understand the inner workings of people we identify, and I'm going to use the word openly, an enemy. I think the FOP violates its, the FBI and the FOP violates its integrity and role from a place of relationship to the stated public safety and well-being and security of people. And it does so by denying humanity in service of what is a racial hegemony of superiority that seeks to disrespectfully engage community and undermine, going back to that primal wound, right? Undermine our capacity to unite and heal. And that's a lot of the consultation. That's why I'm so grateful from Mama Pam and from Mumia is around an understanding of that, how it is. We should understand and anticipate that our ancestral wounds will be a part of our journey. If we don't, it's an immaturity on our part not to anticipate it. Our capacity to communicate effectively under a certain sense of time pressure and to appreciate our connectivity to the ancestral powers, the challenges they have, and our capacity to heal from our own internal conflicts as we see them and define them. The more efficiently we can do that, the more we unify. The metaphor right now, Mumia says, the metaphor is not what you see. It's what's underground. It's the root system. We literally talked about metaphor and superpowers. I do this with the youth that I'm working with right now around abolition. What is your metaphor? What is your superpower? Your superpower you can keep secret or not. The metaphor, let's agree that we work on the same metaphor. And right now that metaphor is the mother tree of knowledge, the ecosystem of that mother tree. Brother Mumia and Brother Leonard, those two trees, we are like mycelium in the fertile soil that's taking the physical extension of their root network and extending it. That's what Mumia is seeking. In terms of the metaphor above ground, a lot of times we've been using within the movement cooking together. And I think, Kalonji, you talked about us cooking together, right? You know,
I know.
It's like we are in a way cooking together. Right now on this show, this is alchemy. This is cooking together. And in doing so, you don't want to cook with bad energy. You know what I'm saying? This is what my grandmother taught me, my mother taught me, my sister taught me.
You want to cook when you're mad.
Exactly.
I know.
So our capacity to heal and connect is the medicine for Mumia right now. And believe me, we are vigilant to what his numbers are with regard to his anemia. We're vigilant to all the medications coming into his body. We're vigilant to whether the proper standards have been done with regard to the radiographic imaging and surveillance and what is the standards of care. At this point, we're vigilant to all of that. We want to now shift and hold that same level of vigilance with Brother Leonard as well. I appreciate you allowing me to kind of spin off on this. I realize my answers are a little long, but did I answer your question, Isaac?
I believe you did, and sorry, Kalonji, I believe you did answer the question. And if I'm being completely honest, I think you answered it in the first question when you brung it back. So I gave you an example. So apologies on my part. That just goes to show so much information that you are giving us at one given time that it's not necessarily a lot to process. It opens up the floor for you to really understand how important Mumia is to our resistance. And one thing that you stated in there was unify. I heard unity. We have an elder by the name of Daruba bin Wahad. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with him. Is asking for a united front. And so for people who don't know or aren't aware, but Mumia is a part of that united front, even behind bars too. So the fact that we are Mumia behind bars is talking about a unified front. Just goes to show you how imperative and how important it is that we burn this motherfucker down. Sorry, but that's how I feel about the occupation encompassed in the whole. Kalonji did tell you earlier that I was gonna have a little moment. So
hey, I want to share with you. I want to share with you that from my teachings, and my teachings are varied. You understand? I have teachings that come from Mayan tradition. I'm going to be going up to see Chief Philip here of the Miwa people, who's like uncle to my children and was part of the spiritual guide and teachings for our children. So, I'm going to in that regard, to what we understand is we hold a tremendous relationship and responsibility to energetic energies. You understand what I'm saying, right? And fire played an important role, and Omar Cabezas writes about that in Fire from the Mountain, which is the relationship of fire coming into the communities where you would light that trash can on fire in the middle of the night, and you'd have the elders there, and you were literally talking about strategizing how it was that you were going to have secure places for revolutionaries to come and stay, to talk about the precepts of what was so foundational to a place of resistance. But that was a controlled, responsible use of fire in relationship to providing not just the physical warmth, but the community and the connection. Fire from a place of fire enhancing the transmission of the word. Fire from a place of that energetic outburst, which is in service and control. So there are times where fires, I understand, can get out of control. But that intentionality of the clarity of what our outcome is. And Jaleel, by the way, he cracks me up sometimes when he just makes it so clear, because Jaleel is guiding in terms of many messages around when we do something, when we speak to the state, for example, to use their language. We're also using a strategy right now where, with the permission of Mumia, with the permission of Sitawa, and with the permission of Brother Leonard, we speak from a place of a professional relationship, which now centers ourselves in a consensus that abolition is public health. Open identification of the state as the social determinant of violence and health. An open examination, and this is what I think is the strength of the Peltier team, how beautifully they ground themselves from a place of full-on defense, not worried so much about, not that we don't have to navigate the nuances of every particular case, because Laura Whitehorn teaches that brilliantly. She's like, whatever you're saying out here, the metric is, whether when you like say something that may be on fire, the metric is, how are your energies and interactions in service of the freedom of the most vulnerable? That is the person who's in prison, their families, their communities. And that metric came to me from I thought, a very wise consultation where he said two things. And this is someone who's like an inside in the game, right? Counsel to, private consultant to Harvard University, all of this. And he don't have to be an abolitionist. And he'll say, you measure, whenever you're engaged in a place of consultation where someone is so profoundly vulnerable, your actions are measured by its impact on the most vulnerable, one. And two is, you, because of this is unspoken but understood, because of the relative privilege that you have from your professional standing, you should be measured by a capacity to examine how you understand an inside-outside game. Those two simple guiding metrics of your own self-evaluation of your actions are important. After that, there's also tools that you can use. You should be, I should be able to say, I'm identifying a SMART goal. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Within 2 weeks, I will have a letter written to the American Psychiatric Society, the American Psychological Society, to the Social Work Association. That that these are the kinds of strategies we're using
Right on, right on. No, definitely. We appreciate you laying it out. I think you.
It's identifying the.
Can you hear us?
FBI.
I think he's experienced a little delay in audio. But definitely, we will catch up. Man, he's laying it out in a way that is palatable.
Yeah.
We have a few minutes left. We're gonna wrap up with Dr. Alvarez and certainly bring him back onto the platform. Dr. Alvarez, you still with us? Okay, it might be a connection error, but definitely appreciate that. We're gonna go to a quick Black Power break, and we're gonna come back and see if we have Dr. Alvarez. We have more to talk about here on the Rise Up Morning Show. We definitely appreciate what the good doctors bringing to the table in regards to Mumia and Leonard Peltier and others. We want to remind folks that on this Sunday, we will have a panel discussion regarding Leonard Peltier about his most recent parole denial and medical emergency. We'll have folks like Ward Churchill on board, folks who know Ward, his books around COINTELPRO, and also Susie Baer, who actually put together a film on Leonard Peltier some years ago. I don't have the title in my head just yet. I mean, right now. But there'll be a few folks that will be on from the team, from Leonard's legal team, his medical team, etc., talking about the case of Leonard Peltier. So make sure that you tune in with us. That's on this Sunday at noon, 12 p.m. EST. Make sure you check us out right here on Black Power Media. Let's see if Dr. Alvarez is with us real quick. Dr. Alvarez, you still there? Okay, we may have difficulties. We definitely appreciate Dr. Alvarez coming on, and we will have him back on to discuss, medical and what's going on in regards to apartheid. We're going to go this quick Black Power break. We'll be right back at you. Rise up.
Were committing biological genocide against us, and that by the year 2000 whatever there would be no more black people, you would get one reaction. But you're saying that we're being threatened with cultural and psychological extinction. How do you get African people to see the urgency of the situation?
I don't know, frankly, if you can. I think that we have to focus on young people, young African people who have not been so conditioned with a way of thinking that supports European imperialism, European power, that they still have the ability to use their intuition, their spirituality, their Africanness to create, to think beyond the limitations that have been given to them in European academies. I think most of us as adults, as elders, have been so conditioned that we're afraid to move beyond the parameters that have been defined by our enemies in our thinking, so that our vision is limited. And so we are really not the people who should be conceptualizing the plans, the movements, what we should be building. But I focus on the younger people who hopefully are still more in touch with what is natural to African people. And if I can affirm that in them, they will see the urgency. I find that in my teaching. I find that in teaching young people, that once they are affirmed and introduced in a conscious way to the African worldview, it becomes crystal clear to them. And they see in an urgency in us as African people building for self, as opposed to imitating forms which have been put in place to make sure that we continue to be oppressed.
Culturally and psychologically, do you think we realize what we have lost?
No, not. You know, it's ironic because we don't realize it on a conscious level. Yet we live it every day in the way we walk, in the way we talk, in the way in the music we create. There is a depth of spirituality which exists in us as a people, which has continued since our origins, that our ancestors have passed to us, and which we continue to pass on ourselves, that we don't consciously recognize as a strength. We don't realize that it is something that we need to use to think with, so that when we are presented with a European worldview in the classroom, we think that that's the only way to be. That's the only way to think, because we didn't come with anything. So I don't think that we are aware on a conscious level of what it is that we've moved away from in terms of power. You see, that's what we're not aware of.
Could you talk some about how we came to be who and what we are today? If you understand the question.
I think I do.
Okay.
I think that we have to look back at a period that I call the Ma'afa. We as Africans were very consciously stripped of our culture. Now, that becomes a platitude. You know, everybody's saying that. Stripped of our culture, but we have to see that we had a strong culture and so forth. But nobody seems to realize the depth of what that means. Being stripped of our culture meant being conditioned to accept ourselves as inferior beings, okay? It meant that we were conditioned to feel that we had to be dependent on Europeans, dependent on white people, that we could not do things for ourselves and in our own image. That conditioning began with a long period of terrorism, which was very physical, physically manifested. At the same time, there was the breaking of the will. So there was cultural violence, I call it, in the book, as well as the physical violence, which was very important. We then came to a period in which we mistakenly thought we were free. We're now at a point where we think that we have freedom, the ability to be whatever it is that we can be within this society and so forth. Yet what happens is that we are still thinking within a modality that has been determined by those who would oppress us, those who would control us. And we don't see beyond that. So the question for me becomes, who controls how you think? We have the ability to create our own structures, our own theories, our own definitions of reality. to look at the African worldview, to look at, for instance, the Dogon people, to look at the Kemetic people, to look at our own people who have, even look at Carter G. Woodson, for instance, the miseducation of the Negro, which I don't think was really ever understood by us, and to use these things as inspirations for the building of institutions, the creation of things, the building our own buildings. We have the ability to do that. So it's almost like we've been conditioned so well through such a long process that now it is us who are enslaving ourselves mentally.
Because the job has already been.
The job has been done. It would be so easy, in one sense, for us to undo it. That's what I'm saying in this book. Because the way the system of European control works is that you have to accept a concept of reality which makes them superior.
Man, that was Mama Marimba Adni. I mean, first of all, definitely appreciate Dr. Ricardo Alvarez coming on. I spoke to him. He had some, we had a little bit of technical issues towards the end, but we will bring him on bi-weekly or so to talk about what's going on in the medical world. I think it'd be a good segment to have a good 15 minutes or so to talk about that particular angle. Marimba Ani, what y'all just hear? What? Let's talk about that. What y'all know about that? What's going on? I just had to text. I just texted her right now, so I'm trying to get. Yeah, I'm just saying I'm trying to get her on the show. So I'm just cross your fingers and all that type stuff. But yeah,
that was
talk
deep.
about it. Yes.
Well, hey man, I think the way she broke it down, man, it's so perfect. You know, like us, you know, about how our vision is limited, how we start thinking like the oppressor. You know what I mean? I like the fact that she say we accept, like at some point we have accepted that we're inferior. You know, and that's when the self-hatred comes in. And I saw that's what you and Ikemba were talking about on yesterday's show when you spoke about these NBA players, man. You know, like recently Gilbert Arena talking about the South Sudan team, you know, talking about them like they were some kind of inferior human beings, you know, because they're from the continent. You know, that self-hatred, you know, they're like, oh yeah, they don't even have shoes, and he's laughing, they're from whatever tribe, you know, you know, that type of thing.
Bust their ass though, no matter what tribe they're from. With or without shoes, man.
They were smacking their ass for like all 4 quarters. All 4 quarters.
Exactly.
But that's what
it was on them like white on rice.
Imagine they had shoes. Now go ahead.
Right. But that's what Marimba Ani's talking about when she talks about like we're thinking like the oppressor. You know what I mean? Thinking like the oppressor, and that's how they got us out here thinking. And some people thinking that they're free. They'll argue with us the whole day, like, "What y'all talking about? We free already. We free, you know." Because some of us have the ability to buy what they're willing to sell us. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not understanding that, you know, we obviously don't own the resources of our people from our continent. You know, but yeah, I mean, the way she breaks it down, all of it is just so perfect, man.
Yeah, and she brings up some points too that I want us, if we can, you know, break down. Since we have this last hour, we had our guest the first hour. Now we're getting into some news and, you know, decolonial analysis. When she talks about the psychological warfare that has been enacted on the African diaspora, it's very apparent today. We have individuals like how Fernando said, Gil Arenas, with all of his goons that he has on there, Cam and Mace, Shannon Sharp. You know, Malcolm X talks about how they use these puppet pawns to try and justify that there is no racism, that there's equality, quote unquote. There ain't no fucking equality. There is no equality. We live under a system that literally told a whole demographic of Africans here then in part we're watching places like Gilbert Arenas, Cam and Mace. Again, we're watching fucking what the fuck, Paul Pierce. You know, he coming out with that soft ass, you know, fucking apology when it came to how he was describing his own people. So the fact that you've turned your back on your own people is directly aligns with what the doctor was saying in that video is that the work has already been done. That's how much fucking work that's how much work on this end individuals like myself, individuals like Kalonji for over 30 years have done. You know, Fernando, we having to consistently debunk these things, you know, having knucklehead ass individuals go on there talking about Africans and tribes and they ain't got no shoes and shit. They want you to believe that. They want you to believe that Africa, that Africa cannot develop, that Africa is just these tribes and what. I know it's not. If you've ever been to Africa, then you know what Africa is about. You know, if you have friends that lived in Africa, you know what it's about. But even then, so you break that down, there's still colonial aesthetics there that we have not addressed.
Brothers, for folks who are not familiar, because some people may have just hopped on and they might not be aware of who Gilbert Arenas is or Paul Pierce or whatever. So if you don't mind breaking down, giving some context to what exactly happened, so folks that are just tuning in are clear about what's going on.
You want to take the lead, Fernando?
Yeah, these guys are like ex-NBA legends, you know, ex-basketball, big-time basketball players who are now doing talk shows about the game of basketball, you know, and they're supposed to be knowing what they're talking about. But, you know, they come out there and they speak about the South Sudanese basketball team like they're supposed to be whack. Like they're supposed to be whack because it's South Sudan and they never heard of them, right? So yeah, that's who these people are. So they recently on their show they started talking bad about, you know, South Sudan, but some of them went as far as being like, yeah, like we almost lost to a tribe that, you know, they don't even have shoes. They have to get their shoes from America, you know. So that's when Marimba Ani says, you know, our vision is limited. You know, these guys they don't even they're far from understanding what, you know, anything. They don't even consider themselves African, right? They think, they look at our brothers on the continent and they're like, yeah, these guys they're behind, they're uncivilized, you know. So that's exactly the thinking of the oppressor, right?
Yeah, you know, it's wild to hear Black folks, some Africans, disparage Africans. You know what I mean? And that shows you, it don't matter how much fame you have, how much money you have, you can still be a dumbass. And that's pretty much what's taking place right there. You have these two characters who have the audacity to talk down about some folks who are supposed to be their family, their brothers. You know what I mean? It's a wild thing. Look at that. We started talking about basketball. Ikemba appeared from nowhere.
Ikemba came out of the trenches.
Start calling him Ikemba Walker.
Or call him Ikemba Bowl at the minute. But anyway, go ahead.
I want to play this video to give context to the individuals as to what we're talking about.
I give you 30, South Sudan. You taking it?
I wouldn't take 35 and a half or whatever it was.
I need to see some clips of them.
Yeah.
South Sudan.
I need to see what they look like though.
Man, they probably ain't got nobody over 6'3".
and they got a crack on the scene with them.
Yep. And he's going hard too.
This is what got Skip Bayless fired, by the way.
They sitting there laughing.
No, what I'm saying, like they should have just put Lithuania in, right? Like how did South Sudan get in?
We might go all small lineup.
Like put the Masters team on there. Lithuania.
Micah Powder.
Oh yeah, Micah.
They're gonna play Nigel Davis. And we still gonna win by 30.
You're lucky you're not playing East Sudan. I hear they're really loaded.
East Sudan now. Where y'all get this from? They got basketball teams out there.
See how like we still gonna win. We is the United States.
Right. And look at their master sitting there. He just grinning with them. I mean, you got to be two of the most ignorant Negroes.
Assholes.
Yeah, I mean, some straight suckers. I mean, looking goofy, funny ass haircuts. I'd have been sitting there clowning them like, man, that's all that money you came up with that. But I'm sorry, brother.
Now, I was gonna say, man, it's it's sad, because especially when you think about South Sudan, young country, right? The youngest of youngest country probably in the world right now. 11 years, maybe 11, 12 years old, just experienced the genocide, 2 decades ago, right? Still recovering from that. Just just thinking about the atrocities, humanitarian crisis there, because of not just what they've been through, but the people of the Republic of Sudan who's seeking refuge in South Sudan. So dealing with that crisis right now, all of the things that's happening right now, you choose to just like make fun of South Sudan. That could have been an opportunity to like raise awareness of what's happening in South Sudan.
They don't get paid to spread awareness. They get paid to indoctrinate our people into gambling, into drinking, into all of these aesthetics that again come with the demise of our people. It gets us put in a position to where we start to not care about the things that we should start caring about, like how our kids are educated. Are they teaching critical race theory in school? They're probably not, because I wasn't taught critical race theory in school. So it's like shit like that. They're not fine-tuned to, because it doesn't make them money. Liberation does not make them money. If anything, it depletes of their value of money, because at the end of the day, as Pan-Africanists on this board, or just Africans in general, we understand that the money value is not what we're looking for. We're not looking to gain the money. We're looking to gain our liberation. They don't want liberation. They're comfortable and they're fine living in their fucking mansions and shit, and fucking Azusa and whatnot, and Cypress Park, all these fucking places that they get to, Palo Alto, all these fucking places they get to live at, they get to strive in. Newport Beach, there's like a whole community, it's literally just a bunch of basketball players that live next door to each other and shit. We as people from the African diaspora, they make it hard for us to be able to get the correct narratives out there, because they say some tomfoolery ass shit, some geriatric ass shit like this, and they expect people to just be okay with it. And what it does is it creates this narrative that Sudan is just this shithole fucking country and whatnot, and they're not. How do you break that down? Their country is being subjugated to fucking genocide by what? The hands of the global elites and Western fucking imperialism. So how do we stop that? We have to properly address these issues. They're not willing to properly address them, which is why they make money. They tell our people to gamble, even knowing damn well that the people that are watching their show are living in impoverished areas and whatnot. They thrive off of that. They're lucky I didn't go to fucking the Win and cuss their asses out when they was at the Wise studio, the Wire, whatever this shit is called. That it's disgusting, because they do this on a level that makes it super hard for even this platform to be able to debunk and to say, no, we should not be talking about our African brothers and sisters who don't really care. And this is one thing too that I want to make very apparent. The number one monetary funder of South Sudan is the United States. Okay, so they were not going to let South Sudan win that game and then block 30. What are they on? 41 consecutive straight wins. Team USA is. That's at the hands of what me, Fernando, and a comrade of mine by the name of Ryan, we're going to be breaking down on from Walter Rodney's perspective of how Europe underdeveloped Africa. Well, we got to throw in resources, as in talent being a resource that they extracted from Africa, which is making them the juggernaut fucking team every fucking 4 years, every 8 years, FIBA and fucking the Olympics. So again, primary contradictions need to be at hand when we talk about situations like this. Not that none of us are doing that. It's just they're not doing it, which is why you got knuckleheads out there saying shit like that, like these Africans and whatnot. Like, you're not African. You're not African now. It goes back to it goes back to what the doctor said. The work has already been done, and all we're doing is doing the work for them even more now when it comes to making these types of narratives.
And it's crazy to see how much our young brothers and sisters, especially athletes, are being encouraged to stay away from political education now in schools, man. You know what I'm saying? Athletes, they're simply encouraged to, do your homework, get your tests, this and that. That's it. Don't study too much. Make sure you get away from all that. Don't get involved in nothing. You know what I'm saying? We see that in the US. We see that here in France. We see that everywhere. And our brothers and sisters represent an empire. you know, in the Olympics. Now it's about to be full blown. We're seeing whether it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, you know, representing Greece. We're seeing, you know, obviously LeBron for the U.S. We're seeing Schroeder representing Germany. He's another brother. And, you know, they're all rocking the flags heavy.
But they're not gonna let Klay Thompson though play for the Bahamas, or they didn't let him play for the Bahamas, which was wild. So you know,
what Joe Embiid doing? What he?
Embiid, man, he's USA, man, USA all the way.
Dang, already, huh? It ain't take him long.
Man, he wanted to. At some point he was gonna play for France.
Yo,
never even crossed his mind to play for
the brothers from Cameroon. He wanted to play for either France or the U.S. Fuck Cameroon. He's like, nah.
So I'm gonna suggest, because again, this is our 7th episode of Rise Up Morning Show, and I noticed over the past week that there's been talk around sports. There's always talk about the racism in sports. We talked about soccer with the Argentina situation. Now we talked about, what was the other clown that's playing for Israel right now?
Beb. And now Winyan Gabriel, who is a part of the South Sudan team that almost clapped Team USA, is playing for Israel.
Look like he's from the Congo over there.
Yeah. He looking like he's from the Congo and acting like, you know, he got hit in the head with a damn bongo. He lost his damn mind. But I think that one of the things that I'm suggesting that we add, and I'm gonna say this on air, is at least a 15-minute sports section dealing with the politics, sports and entertainment, because it's kind of important. I don't want to be like a lot of these other shows where we're just dissing folks, but the gripes that we have right here are legitimate. You know, it's not just a situation where we don't like this person or we don't like this individual. When you got 2 Negroes getting on a camera with this white boy talking trash about Africans, you are some strange kind of Negroes. You understand what I'm saying? You are some strange kind of Negroes. But these are the kind of Negroes that need to be 12 years a slave. You know what I mean? They need to get that reality check as to what's really going on, because I think that they've received those checks. They got those funny ass haircuts and wear those funny ass suits. You know what I mean? And
it's sweet.
Yeah, they think it's real sweet. But then, you know, it is, I guess it is over there. But at some point, you know, reality does bite, because this is America. Anyway, let's not give these clowns too much more energy. We not gave them enough to walk with. Palestine. What's happening over in Palestine? And Isaac is muted. Isaac now raised all that hell. Now you're gonna be muted.
So, as you guys may know, just recently there was a massacre, the Al-Mawasi massacre, and also just one recently, which I don't have the particular name to, but they have been bombarding Rafah. They have been bombarding all of the evacuation sites. They just told a couple days ago called for an evacuation again, all at the same time of bombing where they told individuals to go to. So this is again Israel's Zionism, their ways of being, demonic ways of being, of, you know, eliminating a whole ass group of fucking people just for the fuck of it. What we have right now is minimal areas for which people can get water, people can get food. I'm connected to Fed Up for Palestine, which is has 2 on the ground teams, one I believe in central Gaza and one in southern Gaza, and I'm actually going to be showing you guys some of the work that they have done. And so this is like a 3-team thing that's going on with Fed Up for Palestine, where we spread the word out here, make sure individuals know what's going on, and where, you know, where everything is going to. It's going directly to people in Palestine that have been affected, that, you know, have, you know, put on that resistance jacket, so to say, and put themselves in a position to fight back, but also help the people understand that there is still hope. There are still people out there that are fighting for their liberation, that are fighting for them to have for there to be a free Palestine. And so just to kind of get into what Fed Up for Palestine has been doing as of late, I'm going to go to the Instagram page so that you can be able to see. So this is the team for everybody. If you guys don't know them, this is Mazin. He is the head of the he's the team leader for the first team. This is Baraa. I know I butchered her name, so I do apologize. She is a team lead as well. We have Ferris. These are all individuals that have been affected. Ferris is an independent journalist. Again, so when we talk about from a journalist perspective, we have seen over 150 journalists martyred in the wake of the Palestinian, the genocide on Palestine. As I can see, it's not as big as I wanted it to be. There we go. This is Ferris. He was an independent journalist who loved documenting the beauty and depth of the world around him. Most of these individuals that are on this team had just graduated from Gaza University and have now been put in a position to where they are they are subjected to helping their people under the wake of a genocide. We have Muhammad, which is someone who that I'm connected to. I believe there's two Muhammads actually on this team. This Muhammad Abu and Muhammad Aroki. This is Mahmoud. These individuals are the ones that supply some of the food that goes out. This is Haya. This is Mahmoud Aroki, who I'm in contact with. I've been trying to schedule a video interview so that he can give us a little bit of the on the ground understanding what's going on the ground. This is Ranin. Again, these are all the team leaders and individuals that support and are Palestinian. This is a Palestinian grassroots led movement organization. See right here. Just to kind of give you guys I can't play the music because we'll get copyrighted. But it says yesterday in Nurasat, Gaza, water for the displaced. I love the feedback the team gets from our people. Look at those smiles. And so this is some of the work that they do. They also do fumigations. As people might not be aware, these individuals have to live with the smell of death all around them. The fact that there are individual bodies and whole families that are not have not been uncovered from the rubble, and they have to live around that smell of death in the air, the smell of burnt, of explosions, of shrapnel and whatnot. And so the fact that we are living in current times where Netanyahu yesterday had came to visit the Congress and made his speech and whatnot, we're seeing in the wake of that people are not letting out when it comes to standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people and how they are intrinsically connected to Black struggle. I don't care what anybody says. They are intrinsically connected to Black struggle. If you know anything about Huey P. Newton, then you know that he was there in Gaza at one point. If you know anything about any of our elders and how they stand in solidarity, whether it be the elder that we had or the doctor that represents our elder, Mumia Abu Jamal, stands in solidarity with Palestine and understands the constraints that imperialism has on these people. The fact that they are weaponizing Judaism to then try and justify what's going on is completely fucking ridiculous. This is a breakfast delivery that they did recently. It says this morning, by the looks of their giggles, Mazin and Mahmoud were up to something. We're having a feeling that it had something to do with bandit at the end of the video, or either way, we served the warm and fresh baked breakfast to the kids and all Balal this morning. So again, this is the organization that I'm connected to via volunteer on a broadcast perspective, on a broadcast level. I spread the word for them. I make content for them. But all the praise goes to the individuals that you see wearing these vests that are affected by this genocide. So if I could, well-rounded report around Fed Up for Palestine, I want to say thank you, to the Rise Up crew for allowing me to talk about this in the wake of also, I feel like we need to talk about Netanyahu coming, coming here and essentially calling Americans terrorists, but yet you're the one who's fucking bombing children, dog. Come on now,
Yeah. Real quick, I just wanted to, appreciate you for sharing that, Isaac. And I just wanted to mention, like, first of all, the importance of us, like you mentioned, as far as us as Africans understanding that we're directly connected to this, understanding that whether it's from Thomas Sankara to Malcolm X, directly connected with the struggle. And even when we look at, apartheid in South Africa, and how Israel was funding that, was one of the main founders. So we need to understand that this is nothing strange. Like, it's not something that has nothing to do. We're completely, as African people, we have to understand that this is part of our struggle too, I think. And seeing that right there, these images, they constantly pop up, and it's crazy that, I don't mean to go back to the same thing, but it's crazy to see that some people still really want to go out and vote for someone that wants to continue funding this genocide, active genocide that we're witnessing, right now in front of us, man. So
and I appreciate what you just said, Fernando, and thank you, Isaac, for sharing the work of Fed Up with the Rise Up audience. One thing that struck me, because no matter how many times we see footage, no matter how many times we hear about what's going on, it's so surreal. And I say it's surreal, and I'm not trying to reduce it or anything. It's just like, looking at the bombings, seeing it in real time, looking at the fires burning. You talk about the fumigation, because the outside fumigation, because folks living with the smell of death. You know what I mean? That is something that, if you ever smelled a body, a decomposing body, you know what I'm saying? It's a unique smell. You know what I mean? It's nothing like it. You know it. If you smell a carcass of a dead animal, you know that something died. It's instinctual, right? You don't have to say that, oh, somebody must have left something over there or whatever. You know the smell of death. And when we're talking about these bombings, it's not just the death of humans, because indeed it's humans, but it's animals, it's all types of different
ecocide. It's ecocide.
Yes, ecocide. Absolutely.
Yes, absolute ecocide. And for Netanyahu to be embraced by the United States Congress at a time when all of the madness is going on politically, it is a testament to the genocidal nature of the United States government, of the Israeli government, of the United Nations, of the EU, you know what I'm saying, and so many other formations that claim to represent humanity. The fact that Netanyahu can come to this country and his presence not be protested by everyone from PETA, yes, the rights organization, to death penalty workers, to pro-life organizers, so many levels. The fact that he's comfortable enough to come to Washington, D.C., while Joe Biden is in office, while the black woman who you want to be the next president is in office currently as vice president, and folks are conveniently forgetting her role under this particular administration. You know what I'm saying? They act like she is a secretary. They act like she is window dressing. You know what I'm saying? Like she's only following orders. So if you mean to tell me as vice president she would only be following orders, as president would she be following orders? And I'm not placing the blame, I'm not shifting the blame just on her. I'm just saying that the fact that this isn't protested on an international level and that Netanyahu wasn't met at the airport with handcuffs. I mean, they assassinated leaders across the world. Muammar Gaddafi. You know what I'm saying? Saddam Hussein, folks like that who they deem terrorists. Patrice Lumumba. You understand what I'm saying? Stephen Biko. Chris Hani. Yes, it's government. It's not just whatever they tell you. But the fact that all of our leaders have been assassinated and many locked up, and this criminal, this war criminal, can come meet with other war criminals, is an act of terror in and of itself.
Absolutely.
There's no way that a president that was pro-Holocaust would have been able to go to Congress and address Congress and all of Israel not raise hell, not call for the resignation of every member of Congress, of every president. There's no way it could have happened. But because of the fact that these people whose land was stolen, since their lives are expendable, it don't mean a thing. You know what I mean? And meanwhile, you got these punk ass basketball players talking about other Africans. We're in a strange world. I would say it's the Twilight Zone, but shit, the Twilight Zone has a predictable ending.
So strange to the point where, and I have to address something that was said in an interview that we did a couple episodes back with Rosa Clemente. Okay. I need to know, and I out of frustration, I didn't say anything that episode, and I'm just going to keep it real. I want to know where the hell she got that idea that Palestinians are going to be voting for Kamala Harris, because that in of it itself is a dangerous talking point. It's a dangerous talking point for the simple fact that you have Palestinians that are being subjugated to genocide, and you think they're going to side with their genocider. That was the most ass backwards, dangerous comment that could have been made. And out of respect, I kept my mouth shut. But I will not keep my mouth shut the next interview, because that type of rhetoric it's not acceptable. As a volunteer for a Palestinian organization, grassroots led, that irritated the shit out of me, because you do not throw a whole demographic of people under the bus and expect for there not to be no feedback after that.
Well, for the viewers, Rosa Clemente will be back on the platform next Wednesday.
Yep, next Wednesday.
So you have the opportunity to speak with her and address what was said. I must have blacked out at that particular point, so because we didn't address it. So I would definitely love to hear, and I'll go back and check it out. Indeed, I'm not, of course, I'm not saying she said. I'm not. I'm just saying I didn't catch that. You know what I'm saying? I think I was shell shocked somewhere else. So again, on this upcoming Wednesday, we've invited her back to the platform, and we're looking forward to hearing from her.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's a great thing that she's coming back on, and we're gonna be able to talk to her again about, and she can maybe clear things up, say what she really meant or whatever, But to get back to what Kalonji was saying, it's crazy. It goes right back to what Marimba Ani was saying, which is like, we're thinking like our oppressor. We're really out here thinking like our oppressor. And that's how we quote unquote go through this like it's, like it's the way shit is supposed to go. We just kind of go along.
Dr. Wilson diagnosed this, man.
I was
Dr.
about to say
Emerson
that.
Wilson.
Right.
Falsification of African consciousness, man. He talks about that.
That's right.
It's interesting. Like the ICJ recently determined what's taking place in Palestine is apartheid, right? I mean, that's something they've been indicted a long time ago by the people, right? But that recently has happened. We have to like really definitely someone. Oh, the humanity. This is the point I wanted to make because Kalonji had brought up human beings, and I think that's something that the people have to like really understand. It's like these are human beings that are losing their lives, and for what? Tens of thousands of human beings over there in Palestine is losing their lives, and if they would do it to them, they would do it to African people. They have been doing it to African people. But it's
at the same time,
dehumanization. They dehumanized the Palestinians so that it could be justified, right, in the eyes of the world. And it's the same thing with Africans, worldwide. And this is why we continue to be genocide. We are under a system, a genocidal system, a parasitic system. And Africans are constantly dying as a result of our relationship with these colonizers. But because we have been dehumanized, it's been normalized. People have been desensitized to it. It has become normalized because, how come the world isn't up in arms in regards to what is happening in Sudan, in Congo, and right here in Haiti, and in the United States of America? You know what I'm saying? But they have done a great job of dehumanizing. It's the propaganda, where people no longer look at Africans as human beings. So when we get shot by the police, or we get arrested in record numbers, for crimes, and disproportionately make up the jails, right, as African people for the same crimes that whites commit. And how does this continue to happen unless the world don't look at us the same as everyone else? So that's what's going on with the Palestinians, man.
I blame us, and I'm not one to. I'm not on a. If you just pull your pants up, and you just go to school, and if you just shut the fuck up.
Respectability politics.
Yeah, definitely not saying that. I'm not Captain Negro or Captain Saber Cracker either. But at the same time, I want to say that, again, yes, we're calling for a united front against fascism, right? I keep hearing people talk about what their individual organizations are doing. Listen, that don't mean jack shit. If we're not talking about coming together collectively, I could give a about what your individual organization is doing. You know what I'm saying? The only we have to get our pronouns right. The only we that I'm concerned about is we African people who are anti-colonialists, anti-imperialists, or people who are, whatever quote unquote race, nationality, or ethnicity that they choose or claim. What is your stance on what's going on in Palestine? What is your stance on what's going on in Sudan? What are you doing about what's happening in Haiti? What is going on with Congo? You know what I'm saying? What's going on with the streets of New York, Chicago, Atlanta, LA, Philadelphia, Oakland, etc.? What is your stance on police terrorism, on militarized policing? Not just you come out when it's fashionable, not just you show up because of the fact that it's a new rally or it's a new protest. So I want to get some flicks because I see a lot of y'all out there. You know what I mean? And I'm tired of going to rallies and events and functions and all you talking about is, can we get a picture together? Fuck your picture. What are we doing about this movement? You know what I'm saying? What are we doing about liberation? That's what we're concerned about right now. This is it's a real life horror show that we're experiencing right now.
Most definitely.
And we're making excuses. We're making excuses for folks who don't have our best interests at heart. You know what I mean? It is sickening. The one thing that interview we did with Esli Danto yesterday, Ikemba, just thinking about, how she talked about the insanity of us choosing certain individuals and certain sides because of gender, because of race. You know what I mean? We must understand that when it comes to war, they're going to use some folks that look like you and me. They're going to use some folks, the natty dread. That's, you know, whatever you like. It's just like a brothel. Whatever you pay for, that's what you're getting. You understand what I'm saying? So here in the United States and here on this particular planet, you're getting what you pay for. Right now, you're not paying for your freedom.
That's right.
As Malcolm said, what's the price of freedom? The price of freedom is death. You understand what I'm saying? The price of liberation is bloodshed. You know, we talked about Mumia earlier with Dr. Alvarez. We're not just bigging Mumia up like he's some called celebrity. We're talking about this is a man who is suffering right now.
Needs to be freed.
So, you're damn right. Yeah, it's not just about us rapping about how amazing he is on the show. It's not us talking about Leonard Peltier like, oh, he's some type of cultural icon. This man has served 47 going on 48 years. Leonard Peltier will be 80 years old, September 12th. 80. At this point, he spent more than half his life in prison. You understand? More than half of his life. And we're still sitting here trying to debate. We're trying to figure things out. And at the end of the day, man, we're going to hell in a handbasket. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. I don't know if you brothers have anything to say before we close out. We got about 2-3 minutes left. Yes, sir.
Real quick, I just wanted to say, real quick, like Ikemba said, you know, you look at the four corners, you could look anywhere around the globe right now, pretty much anywhere, there's a genocide going on, you know. So this white hegemonic system, we have to understand that there's no reforming, you know what I mean? It's revolution, because we understand that our enemy has no conscience. And there's no other way to go about it, you know. And speaking of revolution, I'd love to mention, you know, there's a summit going on November 3rd in Spain, you know, organized by the 4th International Pan-Africanist Movement. It's going to be a summit in solidarity support for the Alliance of the Sahel States. And it's November 1 through November 3rd, 2024 in Madrid, Spain. So, it's going to be an important event for us, you know, African people in the diaspora, to be in solidarity, you know, with what's going on in the Sahel states. And, you know, it's going to be a lot of organizations there, a lot of freedom fighters. And so, you know, I know it sounds far for many of you, but, you know, if you have the opportunity, it's going to be in Madrid, Spain. And if not, just either way, follow up, see what's going on with that, because it's important for us to be in solidarity with our brothers and sisters over there.
No doubt. And our good brother Bowie will have his show running on Black Power Media. Just we chatted a little bit earlier, so look out for that. Black August is coming up, August 1st. We got the official reload. Let's close on out, gentlemen. We'll see you all on Monday. You know what we do around here. Rise up.
Rise up.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one. Well, the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces when it's on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Well, my inner me, really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside with their guns cocked.